Okay, a little drum roll here for what's going to be an action-packed pod. I got Jack and Ty back. Jack, thank you for being with us today. Love to see you here on the call.
Yes, sir. Good to be back. Feels really good. Missed you guys.
We missed you too. We missed you too. But Ty's getting a little more experience under his belt. Although last week I actually lone wolfed it. So nice to have a full crew of hosts here today. Drew Crash Davis will be joining us for this one. Another electric interview where the hosts don't talk too much, but Drew talks a whole lot and gives us a lot of insight into his brain in terms of the trade that went down and all the drama that ensued. So, without further ado, this is the Pipe It Up podcast, and cue the intro. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Pipe It Up podcast, the official podcast of MLW Wiffle Ball. And this is going to be a good pod. A lot to talk about between Slate 4 wrapping up, Slate 5, and of course, the big trade that went down over these last few weeks with Drew Davis at the center of it all, who is joining us here to start the show. We're getting right into it today. Drew, very close to the camera right now, I must say. Thank you for joining us and being so attentive here.
You're welcome. I feel like I am like how the sun is in our universe. Like I'm the center of the MLW universe. And
Always or just right now?
It just revolves around me.
That's very humble of you to say. What? How did it feel putting on a Predators jersey? I gotta ask because it looked really wrang. If I'm being honest,
It
just
was
watching
crazy.
it.
It was like a bad dream.
I know, but,
Yeah.
but man, do I look good in gray, don't I? Well, it felt extra weird because it was McGlade's jersey, and I was trying to get away from my number 2 because I was trying to like be a whole new player. That was
Whole new
something that was something Cratch and I talked about. I could reveal our text. He was basically like, "You've become a character and less of a player, and I want you to be a player and not a character." He actually bet me $100 that if I didn't say a word the entire series, he'd give me $100, and I lost that in like the first inning.
Drew, this is actually a very good transition into a question that I wanted to ask you probably later on, but because you're bringing it up now and talking about being more of a player and less of a character, let's talk about it because you had the honor and the pleasure, Drew, of actually getting a collab post with the main Instagram page.
I know, that was
Great for
crazy.
the following. Gotta say the followers are probably juiced right now, huh?
Oh my gosh, yeah, my profile, like my engagement. Do you know how many? Dude, that post has
It's like 3,000 likes.
It's got like 110,000 like views.
Your profile's through the roof. Congratulations on that. Hopefully you can parlay that into some momentum on the Instagram. Okay, well, Drew,
Yeah.
back to my question that I wanted to ask is on the Instagram.
Yeah.
That long caption, of course, I did read it and I reread it before the podcast, and you talked explicitly about sort of how at a very young age on camera you took on this role, or maybe were given this role of being sort of a quote unquote villain in this league, and sort of the effects that had on you growing up and how it ultimately maybe shaped you a bit as a person. But like, how did we get to this point? How did you become more of a character and maybe less than a player in some eyes? How did this start? Why did it start? And do you maybe regret how things played out? There's no right or wrong answer to this. I'm just curious.
I feel like if I was still good at the game of wiffle ball, I probably would not be as much of a character, but I think I tend to gravitate towards doing things that I'm good at, and I think I am better at creating engagement than I am at hitting a wiffle ball at times. So, that's
But
what I feel like.
that's present day. Let's rewind back 10 years ago.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Honestly, I think when I was 14, I was just a loud, obnoxious goofball. And being in the backyard playing wiffle ball was like where I was most comfortable. And so I was just like I go back and watch the videos and I'm like, dude, no wonder people hate me. That guy's a freak. I would also get annoyed with him. Um, and so at first, I think I was just kind of like being a kid, but it was like hurtful. The comments were mean sometimes, and so I think like it probably took me like 5 or 6 years to become really comfortable being able to like look at the comments and not care. And honestly, this year I just haven't even looked at the comments because I'm just kind of like whatever. Especially because I know that I was like so bad this year. I was like, I'm not even gonna do that to myself. There's no point. So, but yeah, I don't know. It's been weird. Like, it was weird, like reflecting on it, because I didn't really think about the fact that it's been like 10 years and I was 14 when I
Been a long
started the
time.
Cobras. So, like, it is strange. Like, I see pictures, like when Kyle posted that clip of me, I think from like the 2016 All-Star game. I was like, who's that ugly freak? And I was like, oh, it's me. Um, but yeah, did that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. I
All
think
right.
so.
It's been a minute. It's just reading your post. I'll be honest, Drew. I clicked on the caption and
Oh no.
99% of my mental thought was just I can't read this. This is way too long. But I said,
I
you know
know.
what? I'm gonna read it for Drew because I like Drew. I'm gonna read it to honor Drew here because I knew what the post was about, obviously. So yeah, just looking at your career makes me kind of think about my career as well as some of the other guys, like another teammate of yours, Andy, that you've played with for forever, and you kind of mentioned that too. Um,
Yeah.
did you chat about this trade with him before, or anyone else on the Cobras? Like, did they kind of get caught by surprise? How did you kind of handle that part of it?
I definitely talked to like Caden, Cole. I mean, Cole kind of by proxy because like him and Caden are best friends and they always drive to the field together. So like a lot of time like staying at, I think it was the first approach to me after the Gators series. Oh, and before I get into this, I do just want to say like I wanted to touch on the one. I know it was a long message and it took me 3 hours to write. So I
Whoa.
was like really grinding.
How long did you
Um,
spend proofreading it?
I didn't. I literally just
Oh,
wrote it.
wow. I couldn't
I
have guessed that.
I just wrote it and like posted it because I was like, I'm done with it. Why was there a lot of errors? I
I don't
didn't
know.
I didn't have my
Probably.
I didn't have my glasses when
There
I
were a
wrote it.
few. I can't. There were a few, but
Okay. Well, so
I'm
but I
not. I'm
wanted
not picking on you. It was just a joke.
but I wanted to say I was like I feel like one thing that has been a common denominator throughout the 11 seasons that or 10 seasons, however many that I've played in MLW is like we've talked about how I try to be unapologetically myself. And I think a part of that has been, and I like on podcasts in prior years, I feel like I've tried to be semi as vulnerable as possible as I deem appropriate with our fan base. And so I feel like that was just kind of a way for me to talk about my experience in MLW in like the most genuine and non superficial way possible. Um, and like talk about how it's not just like I think like the fans just kind of see us as like people on a screen and not like people that it's always like weird when we meet people at events because I do think I'm a very different person at events, at least when the cameras aren't on. And so um I felt like that was me trying my best to kind of like I don't know, end my Cobra's tenure as like I tried my best to kind of like put on a show for you guys, but also it was extremely difficult. And that was something that led to me not wanting to be manager anymore, was just like the focus of it, of like kind of the Cobras being my team and like how much pressure that brings over the past 10 years. So that was kind of like, I was just trying to tie a knot on it all. And it took a lot of words to do that. But to answer your question, yeah, I talked to Andy and Caden a lot about it. I think Caden was a lot more accepting. And Kate and I actually had some really interesting conversations about it where we kind of both came to the conclusion that not only was it probably best for me, but also probably best for the Cobras, even if maybe we were losing some talent by just like only getting McGlade back in return for both me and Ash and then a pick because the pick's uncertain right now. Like theoretically, the Preds could go win the World Series, and that pick is now the 8 pick, or they could miss the playoffs or lose in the first round, and it's now a 2, 3, 4 pick. So, um, like even I think, but in terms of just something wasn't working, it's almost like when you look at I don't know hockey fans out there, like the Toronto Maple Leafs, or like I'm trying to think of another example of like just teams that they seem like they should do well. Like I feel like I should do well in the Cobras, but just the past year and like something's not clicking and we didn't do it well this year. So Kate and I kind of talked about it. And I was like, you're definitely ready to like be manager. And he was kind of like my co-manager all year this year, even if it wasn't public information, but it was kind of like anything that we decided as the Cobras to do, it would go through both him and me. Um, and so I was kind of just ready, like, and I wasn't, this wasn't like a planned thing. Like, I didn't just step down because I wanted to be traded. It was more of what actually happened was Cratch approached me early on in the year about getting Esh from our team. And I was like, I'll tell you what, I still think we can make the playoffs. I'll get back to you after the Gators series. Then we got swept by the Gators, and it was such a horrendous sweep. Like I had the worst series probably of any player in MLW history. And that's not an exaggeration. But Cratch approached me then and was like, "What if you just join in the trade?" It's like it's Ash and you. And I was kind of like, I'll think about it, but I'm in a pretty emotional state, so maybe don't ask me right after I just walked in 17 runs. Um, so we kind of waited and we talked about it, and something that we talked about was like how like people had already bought tickets to the Magic Cobra series, so even if something were to happen, I was going to be playing for the Cobras in Slate 4, just because it wouldn't be fair to the fans who are like, I get to go see Ash, I get to go see the Cobras try to compete for a playoff spot, and instead it's like, oh, they traded away their manager and their rookie that they got last year. Um, so I thought long and hard about it. And honestly, the hardest part was thinking about leaving Andy, Caden, like just all of my friends on the Cobras. Like, even after the Magic series, like we had the trade had kind of been finalized before the Magic series. And
Juicy.
I remember
Mm.
after the Magic series, like being like having a lot of second thoughts just because I was like, that was like I had so much fun playing. Like I always have so much fun playing with the Cobras, even if we don't do well. No, it was kind of hard to leave, but I mean maybe like a first scoop for like MLW fans. Like in my ideal world with the jobs I'm trying to pursue, it may not be like feasible for me to play MLW next year. So I was just kind of thinking like in a potential last year, let's I mean, it sounds selfish and it is, but like let's run it for a championship. But also at the same time, Kate and I talked about it and we didn't really feel it that the team we had assembled, or maybe like I had assembled, was even if we were to make the playoffs, like if we were to make a deep playoff push, we didn't think the team was good enough to win a World Series. Like it was kind of that old adage of like, do you want your sports team to just make the playoffs or do you want your sports team to like potentially do worse one year so that they can make a championship run the next year. And if this is my last year, it didn't make sense just to like lose me for nothing when the Cobras could get a potential draft pick and a second pitcher in return. So that was something that we did take into consideration of like in an ideal world, I may not be able to play MLW next year. So why not like end it and not just go out in a bad way? Like let's end it before thing like let's throw water on the fire and get something in return. And then also for me, try to go win a championship in my potential last year. Andy was not happy. Andy was pissed. I will say that.
All right. Well, Drew, watching the Cobras have been just really entertaining, really fun, and it's mainly just your source of energy. So, how excited are you to bring that to the Predators for the rest of the season?
I'm excited. I feel like the first series was kind of like again like that bet with Ryan, and I don't know. I'm getting a lot of I'm this is like the most I've ever like fought back in the comments in like years because people were like, "Oh, you just dipped after game one, like you don't care," and I was like, guys, because they're like, you didn't tell your managers. I was like, Cratch and Morton knew I could only be there for game one. Like I know Kyle said that. I think he just didn't know, but like Cratch and Warden knew I was only going to be there for game one. And then the shoe thing, I only went barefoot because my shoe broke.
Oh yeah, the barefoot thing was funny. How Kyle
Yeah,
casually
so-
mentions like Drew no longer in any footwear. I was
Yeah,
like,
so-
wait, why is Drew barefoot?
What wasn't told was that like that inning, like in the top half of the inning, I went for a foul ball and my shoe broke out from like the sole fell out from under me, and I slipped and smashed my face on the ground, and I was like, okay, I can't wear these anymore because it was wet out there because it just rained. So like I guess I'm going barefoot, but I am excited to like next series. I think Crouch and I talked about it. He was basically just like, again, going back to the player thing. He was like, I don't want you to just be a crazy man on our team. Like, please just like semi reel it in and let's try and get you back. He was like, I think you can rewrite like your story a little bit and become the player that you once were, like a 300 hitter, someone who hits for homers consistently, something like stuff like that. So I think going into Slate 5, it's going to be a little bit more of like the Drew Davis that people know, like a little bit goofy, a little bit relaxed, things like that. And Crouch and I are close, and Warda and Russ and I have known each other for a long time. Fleer and Porter is definitely going to be interesting to get used to like playing with younger players because like again, I've never like Sawyer was last like, and he's what 19 or 20 now. I mean, Fleer's 17 and Porter's 15, so that'll be interesting. Like trying to kind of gauge. I got to figure out how to like interact around them and not interact around 25-year-olds because it is just a different thing. It's just a different type of thing you got to do, but. I mean, Cratch and I get along really well, so I'm excited. And Ash and it's funny because it's just the Cobras defense. It's the Cobras outfield with Cratch on the mound. It's funny.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you about that because Russell wasn't there that particular day, so he wasn't a factor in setting the starting lineup. So, what do you think Ryan is gonna do? Do you think he plans to use you and Ash both in every game in Slate 5 and then potentially the playoffs, or where do you think his head's at in Warda as well with managing their new talent?
If I had to guess, I mean, I know one thing that Ryan's really smart with and something that he's done in the past is like he does try to limit how much other teams see guys that he wants to use in the playoffs. If it allows for it, if that makes sense. So like if he doesn't sacrifice giving up a playoff spot, he will maybe sacrifice a game so that a team doesn't see him as much or potentially see others people as much. I think he's probably going to try and play a lot of people for that reason. Like he wants all of us to probably see because we play the D-backs. Yeah, we play the D-backs.
We play the D-backs in Slate 5.
He probably wants us all to just like kind of see Jimmy and because like they're a team we could possibly see in the playoffs. Same with the Eagles. Like that's I think why he pitched Porter those 2 games is because he knows that like Cratch or like they're not gonna want to like he wants the Eagles to see him at least amount of times as possible. Same with the D-backs. And also I think the one thing that I bring to the table that some others maybe don't as much is just my defense. So I think it actually takes a little bit of pressure off my hitting because I know that like I don't necessarily have to perform as well hitting wise as long as I'm performing defensively.
Okay.
Did that answer the question? You kept giving me a thumbs up.
Drew, again, we asked one question, you answer 6. It's just our whole bulletin board of questions is gone in the first 10 minutes of the interview. It's impossible.
I'm just efficient.
I do want to say one more thing, not to hog the airtime here, but I want to still dig into a little bit more like the character of Drew because the more you say, the more it intrigues me. Because Drew, I've known you for half your life. I mean, we've known each other for a long time at this point.
You see me pre-mustache and post-mustache.
I think we're perceived as like enemies on the field, which we definitely are. Like we've played in very contentious series before. But and I think even our personalities are pretty drastically different. I think you probably agree with that. Not drastically, but a little bit. We have similar interests in certain things, and then other times I feel like you're more like the obnoxious loud one. Not to call you obnoxious, but like you are more of a.
You might be the most type A person I've met, and I might be one of the more type B persons I've ever met.
Okay, so my point exactly. We are different, but there is mutual respect. There always has been respect, even though I think people think I like to push your buttons, which I do a little bit, but that's because we're close off camera.
Professional rage baiter.
Yeah, we're close off camera. But the thing that always like perplexed me about you, Drew, was that, again, you've sort of, I don't know if complaining is the right word, but you've always pointed out the fact how you're portrayed as this villain, and you don't know why you've always been portrayed as this villain. But then, and that's always off camera. But then as soon as the cameras come on, it's like you do things and say things and act in a certain way that does invoke those responses. So, like, is that intentional, or is it just something about how when the camera comes on, you can't help yourself but to say some things that stir the pot?
I don't think the things I say are even that villainous.
No,
I
but just like the way you have to admit, like the way in an interview, same thing where you just mean mug after Kyle asks you a question, like things like that,
that
or
was
when you just
all
say something
planned.
outlandish.
I know
No, I
that.
Drew. That's one example of dozens over the years. That's all I'm trying to say.
I hear you. Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, yeah, I think, dude, I'm just a showman. I am. It's what I do, Tom. You should see me at my serving job. Like, I am just all over, or at karaoke. Like, it's what I was made to do, was to entertain. So I think, yeah, just once I get on the field and the cameras are on, it's just a switch I flip. And then as soon as the cameras are off, I can flip that thing back down and head to the local watering hole.
You are a showman. You are a showman, Drew. I'll give you that.
But Tom, we've spent time outside of wiffle ball. Like, I think the fans deserve to know that that's not what I'm like all the time.
No, it is. It's not at all what you're like. Again, that's why I find it funny when you like say things about how it's like, oh man, like the fans think I'm crazy. I'm perceived this way, but like Drew on camera has always been Drew on camera. There's never been a change, despite how like people have talked about you. But maybe like the comments invoke that. I don't know.
And I don't know. It is interesting because it's something that I've like really tried to grapple with and like understand about myself, and I still don't really understand because like if when like I always see comments, and when I watch myself in like other videos that I'm in, so like for example, like when I watch like the warehouse stuff or like the Como stuff, like it's almost like three very different people slash players. And I don't know. I think it's just like kind of. I think I'm able to be aware of like the role that I'm in. And to be fair to like what you said, I definitely think like the last few years, like I and there was a time where I was like, I really don't like being the villain, but I think the past like few years, it's kind of just like this is the situation. Let's make the most of it. And it is like fun because on the other side of it, there's the other half of the fan base who really enjoy it and understand that it's entertainment and that it's a character and that it's just like a fun thing. And so there's that part of it too. So um I'd rather be loved and hated than not known at all and be boring. I think I don't want to be boring, you know.
It's fair.
You're definitely not boring.
Well said, Ty. Well said.
It's so interesting, Drew, because like the Preds, I feel like have never been like such a entertaining team. Like Ryan is like one of the most serious guys I
That's
know on the
crazy you say
field.
that, Ty, because I
But
feel like growing up, like it was always to me like the two entertaining teams were like the Cobras and the Preds, and I honestly never thought we were that far apart from each other. It was just kind of like subtle
really,
differences. Like Warda was so lovable, but like both teams were great.
mm,
Like back in the, I mean, maybe it's changed because I do think Ryan has kind of Ryan has almost been like what Baranowski was for us. Like he's a lot more calm. But like when it was Warda and Russ, and when Jack was on the team,
Yeah.
like when it was those guys, the Cobras and the Preds weren't that different of teams. It was really just a Warda was super lovable and I was obnoxious and cocky. And on like really, that's how I always viewed it. Was like the Preds were the good guys and the Cobras were the bad guys, and they were kind of the same team. So they have that in there. Like so I do think it'll be fun because I don't know, maybe they need to get that energy back a little bit. Maybe I can play the role of Jack Agner.
Go for it.
Hitting bombs. The Preds definitely have evolved over the years, I'd say, Ty, for sure. Because I agree with Drew that they
mm,
were like the electric team when they had Agner, Russell, Warda, just, raw talent athletes, but not necessarily conventional wiffle ball players, but a lot of emotion. And now it's definitely changed because Alex gotten older, Brennan's gotten
mm,
older, Ryan has matured a ton, and he's, league MVP and plays like a very serious style
Yeah,
of
and he
game.
just closed on a
So,
house.
yeah.
That's how mature he is.
yeah, that's nuts. That's nuts.
I was gonna bring it up earlier when we were talking about like the Instagram comments and stuff. Drew, did you like look at on the post where like announced you're getting traded, but not to like what team yet? What was like the most common guess of what team you're going to?
I kind of do think the Preds was the most common. I looked a little bit. Yeah, they were up there. I want to say that, and I was like pretty vocal. At one point I went to the Discord and I was like, I think it's pretty like to me it'd be so obvious. Like I thought it was obvious I was going to the Preds just because like to me
Mhm.
there's like well they had a very specific need that like Ryan wanted me to fill, and that was defense. Like that was
A
like
showman.
yeah,
Right.
defense and being a showman.
A defensive
They
showman.
do need that.
No, but
Yeah.
and also I think they're just the team that like the Gators never really made sense. The Wildcats never really made sense because they have a lot of depth pieces and like I wouldn't fit in anywhere there. Again, the Mallards like I wouldn't even have a spot in starting lineup, so that doesn't check out. The
You and me both, brother. You and me both.
yeah, yeah. The Magic, I just think like, they have a lot of young guys. Like, it wouldn't make sense to have a guy who might be gone after the season just to plug in a rental.
Mhm.
And again, I don't think I add that much in terms of like their defense isn't bad. So to me, it was just like always kind of like, and I think the Preds are really one of the only teams that like if they approach me to get, I think like the only two teams I would have maybe gone to were the Preds or the D-backs if they approached me, and the Preds approached me. So that was kind of like that was always going to be the team if I got traded. Like, and I wasn't looking to get traded. It just kind of happened. Like Ryan asked me, and I was like, oh shoot, that could be fun. I like change, and I was also like, think of the content. Oh my gosh, like biggest trade ever.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
you mentioned the fact that it's possible you don't play next season. I think with that context, looking at the trade on paper, it makes it seem a little bit less lopsided. But they bring me on the podcast here to ask the tough question. So I guess, looking at the comments, right, pretty much every comment I saw was saying that this was, a huge win for the Predators, loss for the Cobras. From your standpoint, as a former Cobras manager to the Cobras fans, I guess play the devil's advocate to that as to why it was not, a crazy fleece of a trade for the Predators.
Yeah, and I agree on the main feed, like on the main MLW post, it was I think a lot of like Cobras got fleeced, but when I went and watched some of the other like MLW fan kind of like analysts who do videos, like a lot of them like were kind of split, like oh wow, this is way better for the Cobras, or like they're gonna get another draft pick next year that could be a high draft pick, and like McGlade's a better second pitcher than Davis. So I remember texting Kyle and I was like, hey dude, it's great that I'm seeing people also like there's other people who think the Cobras got the best of this trade because that if you have people on both sides, like that kind of means it was even. But I think for on the Cobra side, look, and this is nothing against Justin, but like so far this year, up until the Preds, up until his first Preds series, like his hitting stats were really low, and so like his trade value at the time wasn't great. And again, my trade value, like we're both hitting under 200. So our trade value just wasn't really that high. And again, there weren't other teams offering anything. So um it was kind of like, do you want this potential? Like in the Preds at the time the trade was made, were in second to last place. So like at the time, the Cobras had the number one and the number two pick next year, which is like really huge. I mean, and you know better than anyone, Jack, like how much like a single draft can change
Mm-hmm.
like a team. I mean, going from like were you guys last or second to last, and then won the World Series next year, right?
Yeah, I think we went worst to first because
Yeah,
we got
so-
two. Yeah, we got Grant and RJ.
Yeah, and I know Caden like has some guys that he was like looking at, and so that was kind of like our thinking was like it might be worth the risk, and it was kind of weird for me because I had to look at it from both because I was like, well, I'm going to the Preds, and I think we could win the World Series, but then I also had to look at it and be like, well, but also there is a chance that like I mean, think if we lose one of those games to the Eagles and I think we would have been because like right now we're in third, I think, or something like that with the tie. Everyone's tied. But like if we would have went 1-2 versus 2-1, well now
it was very possible for you to still miss the playoffs at that point.
Yeah.
It was close.
That's what we were kind of looking at. Like it's very possible the Preds either still miss the playoffs or barely get in and potentially lose. And once you get in the playoffs, I mean, anyone can lose in the first round. So
I mean, I think either way, and I think you've seen it with this draft. There's obviously still a difference, I think, in the talent between the number 1, number 2, and a number 8 pick. But at the same time, I think the talent in each draft pool is getting much better, like overall by every year. So like, yeah, that pick could swing pretty big depending on how the Predators do. But at the end of the day, you're still adding another really solid piece, I think. And I saw both sides and I get it. And so I just wanted to have you kind of like explain it because you were involved in the trade and saw both sides. And obviously being a Cobra for so long, it wasn't like you wanted to leave the Cobras like worse off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You wanted to give them a chance to rebuild. So I just think that context is important because I think a lot of people see like the posts and the trades and they're like, this is crazy. Like, how is this even happening? It doesn't make sense. But when you kind of pause, think about it, give some context, I actually think this trade will be really good for the Cobras. I do.
Yeah, because I just think like I can't imagine if I would have just kept sinking the ship and we would have gone into Slate 5 with the Cobras and potentially we get, I don't know, like if we were like maybe we get swept by the Eagles, I go 0 for pitch another bad game or something like that, and then I end up not being able to play next year. And I mean, I can't imagine the comments then where it's like Drew just put on one of the worst seasons of all time, dips and leaves them with like nothing. Great. And also, and it kind of sucks to say, but this year I had a lot of people in my DMs, like fans being like, sell the team. And it kind of got to a point where I was like,
so you sold it. You sold it to Caden. Good
yeah,
job.
like, dude, fine.
There were a lot of comments.
Yeah, I'm like, fine. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe they're better. Maybe they'll be better off.
You're like, all right, I will sell the team.
Yeah. So.
All right. Well, Drew, appreciate you coming on the show, giving us a lot of information. I think it's great for the fans to hear a little bit of feedback and some more context as to why the trade went down the way it did, why you chose to take your career in a different path, and looking forward to seeing what you and the Preds can piece together here in Slate 5 against the D-backs and potentially make a playoff run. So
yeah, wait, two last things real quick.
You have a minute and 30 seconds.
All right, great. I hate Kyle right now because he picked the absolute worst picture to put on that trade, and I don't know if you saw. I was furious, and I said I'm not reposting this. And I didn't purely because I can't believe he picked that picture. That is just being a bad friend by Kyle. Second, I changed my stance a little bit in some practice. So Slate 5, I'm gonna have a different stance, and I'm seeing the ball a lot better. So. Preds fans, I know you have no reason to believe anything I have to say right now, but there is that to hopefully look out for.
Okay. We
There
will
you
leave
go.
the listeners with that. Thank you for your time, Drew. Go enjoy the rest of your evening with your father, and
Thanks.
we'll see you back on the pod sometime soon.
All right, bye guys. I love you all.
All right, thanks again to Drew. Just the fellas now, co-hosts, Jack, Ty, and myself. First thing I wanted to do, because we jumped in so quickly, Jack, welcome back to the pod. We've missed you for these last few weeks. Ty and I have been holding it down. Just myself last week, actually. But whatever transpired with the bathroom incident a few weeks ago when you had to cancel last second?
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys picking up the slack there.
Oh, yeah, no worries.
Yeah, today I spent my morning replacing a good chunk of the carpet padding in my bedroom, actually, which shares a wall with the bathroom. So I had a little flood situation. Brand new toilet. Honestly, have no explanation for why this happened, but the toilet bowl overflowed at some point. And I found it just water everywhere. That was actually Sunday, like during the day. I found like the water in the bathroom, and I didn't actually realize that it had gone through the wall into my bedroom, into the carpet, until Monday morning. So I woke up going back to work after a week-long vacation, which was why I missed the pod the previous week. So I was like, getting ready to catch up on all the stuff I missed over the week at work, and then woke up to that, and I had to deal with that. So I appreciate you guys picking up the slack. We're all good now. It's just, another piece of being a homeowner, very humbling, and it can be challenging at times, but you learn new things every day. I've now installed carpet padding, and I've learned a little bit more about how toilets work. So there you go.
What do you think? Did you call Dustin to get his opinion on why the toilet may have overflowed?
I did not call Dustin. I do think the toilet is fine. Again, I don't really have an explanation for why it happened. It hasn't done it since, and I've been watching it like a hawk. I've also just almost like defaulted to using ChatGPT instead of like any search engine anymore when it comes to like stuff like this, and I'll just be like describing what the issue is and ask what the possible problems could be, and it's usually pretty good at like narrowing stuff down like that. So that was helpful as well. But yeah, it's just you got to just roll with the punches sometimes, and you get knocked down, you got to get back up.
ChatGPT, close cousin of our friend Fuzzy Frank, who
That's right.
we miss dearly.
That's right, relatives.
Yes. All right. Well, had to check on you, Jack. Glad you're okay. Good luck. I don't wish any more flooding upon you as a
Thank
homeowner. Now, back to this situation. You guys have any more comments on the Drew news? I mean, Ty, again, you're more in tune, I feel like, with the new players in the league, the new generation. Mm-hmm. Like, what are all you guys talking about with this move? Were you surprised to see Drew go, or do you think this move makes a lot of sense?
No, I was so surprised. When I first got that like text from Levi telling me about it, I could not believe it. Because like Drew's just like the face of the Cobras. And like if any players were to get traded, I would not have guessed it was gonna be him. So yeah, super surprised that happened, but also really excited to see how that pans out.
Yeah, I mean, how do you feel, Jack, about the future of the Cobras franchise? Drew kind of got into it a little bit, but what do you think? Do you think Caden is the right man to run the ship over there?
I actually do. I think I was trying to think of a good sports analogy for this because I feel like there are some out there, but I'm not saying, I'm not guaranteeing the Preds are going to win a World Series by any means, but I almost think, and again, this is no slight on Drew, but in the trade, like Drew leaving and a new chapter for the Cobras, I think is the biggest win in the trade almost. Just turning the page on, hey, this was once what our organization was, and they did a lot of really good things. They had some really good seasons. They made it to two World Series, and they had some not so great seasons, but that kind of chapter has ended. It's sort of just when you see some trades in like the NFL or the NBA, when you're kind of like, why would they ever trade that guy away? Like, he's so good, but just sometimes like it's just not working, and you got to switch things up. It's kind of like, it kind of reminded me honestly of like the Matthew Stafford trade with the Lions. Like, and I don't know if I hope Cobras fans are rooting for Drew, but like when that happened, I was rooting for Matthew Stafford, because I was like, he was kind of kept down here. And I'm not saying Drew necessarily is like that caliber of a player, but it was like, it was just not working, right? Whatever the Lions were doing, it was not working. So like, we need to start new. And what we got with that was like a bunch of draft picks. We got a new quarterback, and it actually worked. It worked for the Lions, and we haven't got a Super Bowl out of it yet necessarily, but it did kind of like usher in a new era for the Lions. And the Rams, they got a Super Bowl out of it too, so they weren't too upset. So I look at it that way in terms of like, I think it's going to be a really good thing long term for the Cobras. I think if you're a Cobras fan, for all the good things he's done, Drew's probably made you scratch your head a lot, and so it'll just be refreshing with a new face as a manager, some new guys through the draft, and I'm going to be excited to watch him next year.
Agreed. I wish nothing but the best for Drew and for the Cobras too. I think Caden is a great guy. I think having two new picks alongside Caden, alongside Andy, and the rest of their crew over there is going to make a big difference. I mean, look at the Gators' evolution with adding Sawyer and Dustin, the Magic's evolution with adding RJ and Grant a few years back. Like, these things drastically change franchises. The Eagles with Dallas and Landon, like, drastically can change the energy of a team. And I think it's probably what they needed. And I think Drew knew it. I think Caden probably knows it. And I think Cobras fans actually too. At first, I was like you, Ty. I was shocked. I was like, "What is Drew doing?" Typical me, just like picking apart Drew's brain, trying to understand why. But now that I've sat with it for a little while, and like I've really looked at Drew's numbers this year, I don't know. I think it does make a lot of sense for both teams. So
It does.
we'll see how it plays out. But we haven't talked about the series at all between the Eagles and the Preds that we saw Drew make his debut in for one game. So I wanted to comment on that really quick. The first thing, Ty and Jack, that I wanted to point a finger at was, so the Eagles take game one pretty comfortably. And then they send out Dallas in game two to take on Porter. I think they thought that would be a chance for them to capitalize on an ace versus number two matchup and potentially clinch the series win right then and there. Well, they fell behind 2-0 to the Preds early in that game with Dallas on the mound. A couple of home runs were hit off of Dallas, a few solo shots, and then opted to go to Trackman when they were down by only 2 runs. And I don't know, that move was interesting to me because by pulling Dallas, then I think they thought, okay, now we have some eligibility for him in game 3. But it also, he can't finish game 3. Whereas in game 2, he was in a position to potentially finish that game only down by 2 runs, which they ended up coming back from. But then trying to rally late with a guy who's struggling to find the strike zone there in game 2 just put him in a really tough spot to win that game. And then again, the effect, the cause and effect of taking Dallas out was now, okay, well, who else is going to throw in game 3? It ended up being Trackman and then Urgaitis. It turned into a disaster. So I know it's easy to say in hindsight, but I'm just curious what you guys thought in real time. Because I actually did think, I'm surprised they're pulling them already, only down by 2.
Yeah. No, I think it was a good call to start Dal, especially coming off that game 1, almost perfect game and stuff. And they really weren't seeing him. But yeah, just after 2 good swings, 2 runs, it's not a good move to pull him. So yeah, I love Track, no hate on Track, but yeah, it's either you pitch him game 2 and the whole game, or you just he's not a game 3 guy at this point yet. So they got to just trust Dallas. If you're going to pitch him game 2, you got to keep him in the whole time.
Yeah, the question of should we throw the guy who had a hot game 1 in game 2 always it's like a contentious one because I feel like a lot of pitchers who pitch really good game 1s, they just want to keep going. You know what I mean? They're like, I'm hot. Let me just keep going. I don't really want to take a break. But from a manager's perspective, I've always leaned towards, I don't really care how good of a game 1 you just threw. I'd rather have you in game 3 for a couple reasons. One is the hitters in this league are just so good. You may have pitched really good for 3 innings, but the odds of one or a few of them starting to get around to you in the next 3 innings, I feel like is pretty high. And we saw that with Dallas, right? It was he had 3 really good innings, and then they got after him in the top of the first the top of the first or whatever it was, in the first inning. And the other reason is, just with the rules and what we do with game 2 being the same ball as game 1, it's just inevitable that ball is going to be in innings 2 and 3 of game 2. It's just going to start to get beat up, and I think you saw that even with the pitchers on both teams starting to lose a little bit of control there in that game. It's just the nature of the beast. So I always default to, I want my best pitcher with the best ball in every game. Yeah. And even if you win game 1, to me, it's just because the thing about the momentum, it's like a high risk, high reward. If Dallas goes out there and he wins that game 2, it's all the momentum. You're hoping Track can get the win in game 3, but you probably think it's unlikely because you're probably going to see Ryan or Evan in this case, who is probably a better matchup. But I just look at it more as we want our best matchup going up against their best matchup. And typically that's in games 1 and 3. So I the call of like whether to pull him or not, I was actually okay with them pulling him because I would have just played him in game 3 anyway. So like I thought it was more important for him to play in that game 3 than the game 2, but I wouldn't have done that in the first place, I guess. And I've had that conversation with RJ. It feels like every series that we win game 1, which we don't win a lot of game 1s historically, but when we do, he's always like, I'm good. Like, I want to keep going. And it's like, I'd rather just go game 3 with you. So that's kind of my take on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good take. Good takes all around. The other thing I wanted to collect takes on was Evan Porter, a very intriguing component and intriguing player of this series who threw the ball pretty well. Again, it got a little dicey there late in game 2. He pitched a great game in game 3. Had just a violent drop ball going on from the left side, which we've never seen before. We've seen Jonah Heath have a big curveball, but he's throwing it like, I feel like, better than I ever did from the left side, which is nuts. And he's just so short. It's a crazy looking pitch. And he's alongside the MVP. Ryan didn't have his best day. Porter threw great. The Preds have one more series in Slate 5 to sort of figure this out, but if they make the playoffs, I'm just curious how they're going to manage this thing. I mean, do you have the confidence in a rookie to throw instead of the, 3-time defending MVP? I mean, he was better on this particular day, but I don't know. Like, do you think Ryan or Alec would have the confidence in him to say Ryan doesn't have it in a playoff series or in a must-win game in Slate 5 if it plays out that way? Do they have the confidence in Porter now to say, here's the ball, the game is yours, over Ryan, who's done this dozens of times?
I don't know if Ryan might have the confidence, but I know for sure Evan does. As soon as that series ended, he was on the phone calling me, being like, I'm him.
See, this is why we need Ty. I don't get those phone calls.
Like, I got it. Like, it's so funny because, we'll joke around with each other all the time on, who's better, who's, succeeding more, whatever. I love seeing Evan succeed, man. But it's like sometimes I really hope he just gets, like, teed off of. But he did not. That did not happen in that series. I will props to him. He threw really well. And he has been saying that he thinks he will get a higher role come playoffs or, come rest of the season. So, I mean, after that series, I'd have confidence in him for sure.
It's funny you say that you wish like you see him get teed off on, because I actually had the thought of watching the video. Like when Evan does, like, this is just, you know Evan obviously more personally, and I've gotten to know him a little bit over this year, but just like a fan who doesn't know him, you're watching it and it's like every time he does something good, just with his stature, I know he's not that much younger than some of you guys, but like, just call it what it is. Like, he looks like he's like 12 years old out there. It's like every time he does something good, you're like, wow, like, I'm so happy for that kid. That's awesome. And then I don't remember who it was, but someone hit a home run off of him. And it was like, my first reaction was just like, dude, come on. Like, he's 12. Like, don't, like, come on. Like, so I don't know. He's super fun to watch. I like, to your question, Tommy, I have a really hard time thinking that Cratch is going to be able to give the ball to Evan when it's like a must-win game, like games on the line or like series is on the line. I feel like Cratch is going to put it in his hands. That being said, I think if the Predators are able to get back to the World Series, I think you could see him in like a game, a game 2 or 3 or 4, like depending on how the series played out. I think they would go to Evan, like, for sure. Even in a like an earlier series, like Cratch starts game 1, they win, they might go to Evan. I think that's valuable. Like, back to what I was saying about going like game 1, 2, or 3, the switching up of like arm slots and pitchers is hard to deal with. So I think it's an advantage, and I think they should use that to their advantage. And I think they will at times, but when like push comes to shove, like must-win game, I gotta think that Cratch is gonna put himself out there.
It's fair, very fair. Good takes, gentlemen. Great takes. Appreciate it. But overall, it was a fun series. I enjoyed watching it. Game 2 had me on my toes. And I'm just looking forward to Slate 5 here, fellas. We're on the horizon. Oh, I got to say, too, kind of a comment of the week also. Porter, you do owe Ash the smash burger. There was a comment about that. And I knew it I had no idea the outcome of the game, but when that little dialogue was left in the mic'd up, I'm like, oh, he's for sure gonna hit a home run. I had a feeling. I just felt connection with Kyle's brain. I'm like, that was a little that was alluding to the home run, I thought. So cool moment in the series. Porter, you do owe Ash a smash burger. I will also accept one if you have any extras, but make that 2 for Jack, maybe 3 for a tie. So with that, we are on a Slate 5. It's show up or shut up. Best whiffs are to come. Jack, we got to make our predictions for the slate. And heading into Slate 5, Jack, things are looking quite grim in Camp Agner. The Eagles go down to the Preds in upset fashion. Jack, that was actually your super pick in last series.
It was
2-1 Eagles.
It was.
So you technically lost a point there. So 30-22 is the score. You are not mathematically eliminated.
No.
I believe you can get, in theory, you could get 3, 6, 9, and then 5. So you could score 14 points in this slate.
Anything's possible.
Anything's possible, but it's an uphill battle here.
I mean, I think the game here is really like if we have the same picks or not. Because like I would have to basically have the opposite picks of you and I think win everything to get there.
Correct. But that's not something this year we did it a little bit differently than last year. Like last year we would sort of alternate who picked first, and then like the next person could sort of decide if they want to match the pick or do opposite.
Right.
This year we've done it all independently, where I'm like, Jack, here's the slate, make your picks. I make my picks, and I say, you ready? He says, yep, and then we text him, we send pictures of a screenshot back and forth. So we don't know who's picking who. We just make the picks and see what happens. So Slate 5, here we go. 8-point deficit for Jack. Jack, the first one I want to ask you about is the Chicago series, Gators versus Cats. Who you got?
I will be going 2-1 Gators.
Okay. I'm going to go 2-1 Gators as well in this one, with the Cats sort of, although they are fresh off a win. They are fresh off a win against the Mallards, but 2-1 Gators is my pick. For tiebreaker, Jack, I think like we discussed earlier this year for Slate 5, we should go walk-offs, and this should play to your advantage potentially.
Yeah.
So walk-off in the series, yes or no? I asked Stats Sean the deal, and I think he said there's been 9 walk-offs in 40-some odd games this year. It ended up being like 18% of games or 19% of games. So less than a third. So technically there's less than one per series, excuse me. So if you're smart, you should say no, there are not going to be any walk-offs. I will let you, Jack, pick first here for yes or no in the Chicago series on walk-offs.
Okay. Well, it seems like what I've been doing, which I've thought was smart the whole season, hasn't been working. So the smart pick would be to say no walk-offs.
Correct.
So I'm going to fade that, and I'm going to say there will be a walk-off.
Wow. Just really trying to bury yourself, huh? You hungry for hot dogs, or what's the deal?
Why not? You know what? You got to go out swinging.
All right. Well, best of luck. I hope there's a walk-off for your sake. Let's do Magic versus Mallards next. I got 2-1 Mallards. I think I know what you're going to do, but sticking with my 2-1 Mallards picks.
I'm going 2-1 Magic.
Okay. So we're split there.
Okay.
2-1 Magic. Best of luck to you. May the best man win.
Yep.
Moving along. Cobras versus Eagles. Who do you got?
I'm going to go 2-1 Eagles, and this will be my super pick.
Okay.
I like the trade for the Cobras. I don't really like it for them in their next series.
Okay, fair. So you're going super pick.
Yep.
I'm also going 2-1 Eagles. Eagles maybe could sweep them here, but I feel like the Cobras will find a way to get one. We've seen so few sweeps this year. I actually haven't picked a sweep, I don't think, yet. I feel like I've gone 2-1 and everything. So we're both going 2-1 Eagles. That means the tiebreaker is up to me. So walk off, yes or no. I feel like, Jack, I'm a man of integrity. So rather than sandbag this, I'm going to say no, there will not be a walk-off. And you can just root for walk-offs this whole slate.
All right, cool.
Okay. Last but not least, Preds versus D-backs. This one I was a little bit torn. I feel like the Preds. Actually, I think we might have made this before we had knowledge of the trade. I don't remember when we made these predictions, but the Preds now have a bit of a newfound momentum. So a little bit of me kind of likes the Preds, but my pick was 2-1 D-backs at the time, so I'm sticking with my D-backs. I feel like Jimmy finds a way to rally the troops this time of year to get the job done. So that's what my brain was thinking when I actually made this pick. So 2-1 D-backs.
That's fair. I'm gonna rock with the Preds. I like what they got. I'm sticking with that pick. 2-1 Predators. So with those, is it possible now for me even to, or should I just start thinking about strategies to get these dogs down?
Well, let's see. You could get 3 points with the Magic winning, and I would get 0. So that'd make it 30-25. I'm reading an order of our sheet. This is not the upload order, but
yeah,
you could cut it to 5 with the Magic winning. You could cut it to 2 with the Preds winning. With the Gators series, you could gain 1 point on me, so it'd be a 1-point series. And then with the Super Pick, you could jump me by 3 points, right? Because you could get 5, I could get 2. So you could still do this.
Okay, I can. All right, we're back.
You could still do this. You're not back. Easy. You're not back. But there's
all right, not back yet. But there's a path to being back. There's a path to being back. All right, cool.
Also, now that Ty's in the mix here, we got to force Ty to do something. He's the rookie. We got to haze him a little bit.
Yeah.
Some playful hazing.
Ty can, you know what? He can participate in if he wants to. I'm not going to stop him, from eating a dog. I'm not going to stop him.
Dude, I can.
I just thought of something so funny.
Hit us.
Don't ask me any questions as to why, but I may or may not, in my bedroom next door to this little home office here, I may have a hot dog suit. It was not purchased for this, but it's always good to have a hot dog suit on hand. Ty might be wearing a hot dog suit serving hot dogs that day.
Okay.
Which one of us did this?
Or I get if you know, you know. Or if we look at the budget here and see what we're working with, hot dogs are a cheap item compared to waffles, which is nice. But we could have Jack wear the hot dog suit, and then I can dress as mustard, and Ty could dress as ketchup.
That's fair.
We could do that.
It probably would be around Halloween that we do this.
I'm probably early October, I'd say. We'll see. Yeah. We'll work out the dates, but we'll see. Jack, I mean, I think a comeback would be electric, but after I'm not making the same mental mistake and tricking myself into thinking this would be fun after how bad last year was. I will gladly sit there and watch you suffer through this. I'm your friend, but respectfully, I would not like to do this. So I'm going to hope that my picks are right.
That is fair. I mean, okay. You're going to do a good job behind the camera.
Okay. Jack, there's a chance still. Still a chance.
I mean, let's be honest. It's got to be. It's got to be.
You got to go 4 for 4.
This is like hitting a perfect bracket in March Madness.
A little bit.
It's just impossible.
A little bit.
It's not impossible, but it's pretty much impossible.
Okay. Well, with that, gentlemen, how about a packed action pod, huh? That was a good time.
That was.
A little Saturday night recording here, Labor Day weekend. I hope you all had a great Labor Day. Enjoyed the time with the family. Make sure you guys cherish these last few nice weekends outside. Get out there, go for a walk, play with the dog, play some pickleball, wiffle ball, who knows. But football's back. Lock in, gentlemen. Don't make any plans on Sunday. Wives, girlfriends, siblings, mothers listening, let your men watch some football. It's football season. So thank you all for tuning in. We do appreciate it. And from ours to yours, we say thank you as always, and we will catch you next week.
Pipe it up.